So I have some breaking news that I think you need to brace yourself for. Now, this has been secretly brewing. I've heard about it, but I've kind of just been sort of like ignoring it. But now it's official because the New York Times has released it in an article. When I say brace yourself, I mean brace yourself for this one. Get ready. So as early as next week, the administration will be welcoming South Afrikaners into the United States. So this is basically a rapid relocation, per the New York Times, of South Afrikaners, which President Trump says are being racially persecuted in South Africa. So if you've been following this series for a while, you know as much joy and hope as I've had for actual refugees to be resettled, I've always been cautious of being too happy, which I was in my very recent video, because I knew this was coming down the pike, but I didn't want to believe it, but it's true. The reason why I was so happy in my previous video is because the court said that they were going to hold the administration in contempt if they did not follow the order. And that's technically supposed to start as of May 12th, the unraveling or the restart of the refugee resettlement program. But now, with all of this happening, who knows what's going to happen?
Hello, welcome once again to another episode on my YouTube channel. Trump administration is at it again, where Trump officials seek to bring the first batch of white Afrikaners to US as refugees next week, 12th May 2025. This move, as per Trump, says the Afrikaners have been racially persecuted in South Africa, thus he wants them to travel to the United States. This move has angered many black Americans, some saying this is racial abuse. Why only white South Africans and not black South Africans? Furthermore, the Afrikaners will even be received in the US airport with respect and have a party to welcome them. Let's see different reactions from the following videos.
Now you see, here my friends, this is top tier racism. Gold standard, 10 out of 10 no-nos, top tier. Trump officials seek to bring first white Afrikaner refugees to the US next week, as early as next week. Although the president has halted virtually all other refugee admissions shortly after he took office in January, his administration hastily put together a program. To allow in white South Africans who he claims have been the victims of racial persecution in their home country. So let's get this straight. All other refugees, especially the brown ones, all other refugees, they are criminals and terrible people who he doesn't want in the country. But he's gone to post-apartheid South Africa, to go and get white people from South Africa, actually go and get them because he says they've been racially persecuted. But of course, nobody else has been racially persecuted. Only white South Africans have been racially persecuted. You know what? It's so brazen and so racist that I'm actually weirdly quite impressed. None of this sloppy UK racism. This is top tier, go for the jugular, just make it absolutely clear that it's only white people who ever suffer from persecution or any problems in their lives. That's it. I mean, just brazen. I mean, unbelievable. You have to give it to them. They are just clear. Clear. Is white people are persecuted. Everybody else, with a tinge of brown, no. Not interested. Wow. Whew.
I know every time you see my face, you're like, girl, what you got now? Sit down. I've got more news and information that you can use. The Trump administration is planning to soon receive the first group of white South African refugees it says deserve a safe haven in the U.S. because of alleged racial discrimination in post-apartheid South Africa. government documents obtained by CBS News are actually showing. The initial arrival of the South African refugees could happen as early as next week, according to the documents, which describe the effort as a, quote, stated priority for the Trump administration. Officials have planned a Monday press event at Dulles International Airport in Virginia to welcome the group, the documents show. Although sources familiar with the effort told CBS News the timing of the plan could actually change. So in February, some of you all must remember, President Trump issued an executive order directing officials to use the U.S. refugee program to resettle Afrikaners, an ethnic group in South Africa made up of descendants of European colonists, mostly from the Netherlands. The president claimed that Afrikaners faced government-sponsored race-based discrimination, citing a law that U.S. conservatives like South African-born Elon Musk have said allow racially motivated seizures of land owned by white South Africans. South Africa's government has strongly denied any land confiscations or racially motivated discrimination. The hastily arranged initiative to welcome Afrikaners stands in stark contrast to the Trump administration's move to ban most other refugees from entering the U.S. One of Trump's first actions after returning to the White House was suspending the American Refugee Admissions Program, stranding thousands of approved refugees who had been identified as vulnerable individuals fleeing violence and persecution in Africa, Asia, and other parts of the world.
To all of the South Afrikaans refugees that are coming to America soon, I just want to let you know, as someone whose wife is Afrikaans, who's been to South Africa multiple times, you're going to have a bad time. There's no white genocide happening in South Africa. You have crime that's happening as a result of racism-fueled generational economic inequality, the same thing that's happening in America. We're just a couple decades ahead of you on the unchecked capitalism timeline. But I have good news for you. You don't have to worry about the cheap exploited labor rising up against you anymore, because now that you're in America, you'll get to be the cheap exploited labor. If you were middle class or upper middle class in South Africa and you come to America, you're poor now. Like, really poor. You're not going to have maids and gardeners and personal servants that you can pay $15 a day for. Now you get to be the cheap labor. But by all means, please come to America and experience the American capitalism that Elon Musk's been raving about to you. You'll probably love it. You know, what do I know? There's probably very little chance that you'll end up going back to South Africa in a year or two after realizing how overpriced and fucked up America is. I wouldn't even worry about that as a possibility. And if you think I'm being mean to these people because I think they're a bunch of racist, bigoted colonizers who wish they could go back to apartheid South Africa, it's just because I do think that. But to them, I say, welcome to the American dream.
So Trump is to hold a welcome ceremony to the white South Africans who have fled racism in South Africa. So the mainly Afrikaans, white South Africans who have cried persecution because of the color of their skin were given a special privilege by Donald Trump, where he said that he doesn't want any more asylum seekers from anywhere around the world except the white South Africans. So he said that their arrival in America is going to be celebrated at the airport in Virginia, where his official is going to officiate the welcoming ceremony. What I really want an update on is how they get on once they get in America, because I am getting a big large bowl of popcorn, because I want to know what happens when they get to America. Can somebody please document for us how life is gonna go once you're in America and how you're getting on in America? Please keep us posted now that you have found a place of refuge in the United States of America. Yeah, and all I can say is good for Africa.
They only want white people here. Because when we think about refugees who need immediate resettlement, expedited screenings, we usually think about people who are fleeing extreme violence, persecution, famine, war in places like South Sudan, Myanmar, the Congo, not white Afrikaners. See that chartered plane the Trump administration is sending? It's not going to collect refugees that have been sitting in resettlement camps for years, fully vetted, waiting to come to the United States to escape violence. No, it's going to South Africa to collect white people who claim they're being discriminated discriminated against. Why would they be getting discriminated against? Probably because they spent generations instituting legalized forms of racial segregation and discrimination called apartheid, aka Stephen Miller's wet dream. See, while the rest of the world after World War II saw that maybe racial discrimination not such a hot idea and favored more policies of integration and away from colonization, Afrikaners doubled down on that shit and instituted apartheid. Although it ended over 30 years ago, the social and economic legacies of apartheid continue today. South Africa is the most unequal country in the entire world, according to the World Bank, with white South Africans earning over 12 times what black South Africans do. But don't worry, we're going to make sure that the white Afrikaners who instituted generations of discrimination and segregation against black people get everything they need to get started here in the United States in their new life.
Have you seen this article from the New York Times? I thought it was quite refreshing in a sense. I mean, it sounds so crazy, but I just finished an article, a video of the US government sending, people to Libya, random people to Libya, whatever, But now I also found this article where the same government is bringing people into the country, right? So these people are known as Afrikaners. They are the white minority group in South Africa, and there's an issue going on in South Africa with regards to land and land ownership, right? So the US government is doing something for the white people there, right? He wants them to come to the US and take refuge in the US. So, I mean, when you think about the irony of it all, you're sending people off and then you're bringing people in. So it's about you pick and choose who you like, who you would like to come into your country. And that's okay. The US has rights to do that. So for me though, as an immigrant, documented immigrant, I should say, living in the US, because, they can come for anybody at this point. One of the things that was refreshing about this particular story was that a white person seeking refuge, something about that it evens the playing field. It evens things out, because think about it. There's always Africans that are taking refuge. I mean, Sudan running, South Sudan running, Nigerians running from Boko Haram, Ivorian, all these people running. Every time I read articles, it's about these people are seeking refuge. So to know that an Afrikaner is going to be seeking refuge in the US, that's good. I'm glad that they are seeking refuge, and I'm glad that white people too can have issues with their own country, and they can run out of their country and find safety in other people's country. It makes sense. Now, their ceremony starts next week, because that's the first group of white people are actually going to be arriving at Dulles Airport in Washington, D.C. next week. So it's official. I mean, I didn't read this New York Times article to the T. I just kind of, read as much information as I could. And I just want to add my opinion to the whole thing. I guess that's really what this is all about. But congratulations to the, white refugees, Afrikaners who are going to be joining us here in the US. And I will come here, and I say, Kakino be leather. Welcome to the US. We all are welcoming you from the African communities around the world, including the ones in Maryland, USA, because you're not too far from me. Welcome to America. Welcome. Anyhow, y'all, my name is Moisi, and I'm a visual storyteller who happens to be visually impaired, and I cover African stories.
The first group of white Afrikaners who were granted refugee status by the Trump administration is expected to arrive in America very soon. In fact, as soon as Monday, the 12th of May, if not slightly later than that. You remember the Trump administration offered refugee status to white Afrikaner farmers because they were apparently facing persecution in South Africa. They cited the recently introduced Land Expropriation Act. Now, government says that it has no plans of preventing anybody from leaving South Africa, but does take issue with the White House's refugee plan because it's politically motivated and does nothing more than seek to question South Africa's constitutional democracy.
So y'all want me to believe Trump is putting America first by allowing white Afrikaners to be refugees to come here to these United States of America and be provided housing, a cell phone, food, diapers, all that. Meanwhile, we have veterans homeless. We have American taxpayers struggling. And you want me to believe he's not racist either, because God knows he's deporting undocumented taxpayers, okay? He's deporting babies who are 2 years old and can't fend for themselves, so they got to go with the family. They got deported, okay? Mind you, he's deporting people with visas who went through the legal process, but still getting rid of them. But we're going to invite these white Afrikaners here to America, and we're going to give you all the things you need. But he's not racist, and he's putting America first.
That's the nation that I'm living in right now. That's the nonsense that you guys continue to speak, and the goalpost constantly moves. Y'all have no foundation of morals of anything. You don't.
So you know how Trump decided that the United States would no longer accept refugees from anywhere moving forward with an executive order that he had signed on day one in office. Well, that executive order was ruled unconstitutional, but Trump said, oh, that's not a problem. Actually, we'll just be more specific. And he said, okay, the United States is no longer accepting refugees from anywhere except for white South Africans. So now, as confirmed by a local organization that places refugees here in my city, just had a training with them, had a conversation with them about this, confirmed all of their incoming refugees that were placed with them by the UN, they were taken off the list. They had their tickets ready. They had everything all ready. And after this executive order, they pulled it. They said, nope, you can't do it anymore. And now, confirmed by the local organizations here, that we started getting lists again. People to be placed with refugee organizations. These organizations are now getting lists of only white South Africans. Specifically, white South Africans, and they call it the South African minority, who are fleeing South Africa because of the consequences of their ties to the apartheid regime. In order to prove that they are unsafe and need to come to the United States as a refugee, they have to be able to prove their connection to the apartheid state of South Africa. So no, we're no longer accepting Sudanese, Congolese. No. Only white South Africans, and I'm sure that they'll start adding more to the list. I know that they've thrown around, and this is real. It's not confirmed yet, but I know that it has been suggested that we accept German refugees because they feel unsafe due to the increase of immigration in Germany. So no. They said not the Congolese, not the Sudanese, no Syrians, no. Only white South Africans. Maybe Germans. And this is confirmed. This is happening. This is happening here in Kansas City. This is happening. There are lists of white South Africans to come and seek refuge here in Kansas City. And all of the list of the refugees that were here ready to be placed in Kansas City. And again, we all should know what's going on in Sudan and the Congo. Congolese are one of the highest rates of refugees that we are placing here in Kansas City. And those people were told, no, you can't come to the United States anymore. And then they opened up the refugee programs only to white South Africans.
Clearly, watching the videos, we come to a conclusion. USA only wants white refugees. Why would Trump deport legal documented American citizens and take refugees to his country? Is racism clearly taking control in Trump's administration? South Africans are not happy in this case, as some minority agree to the move. Is Trump really making America great again? Why not allow black refugees into America? Why only white South Africans? Let me know what you think about Trump's move to allow white Afrikaners and not black South Africans. This is bringing back apartheid in South Africa. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share. Thank you, family. Bye.